Are you thinking about moving to Suffolk, Virginia? Well, in today's video, we're going to break down 10 specific reasons why you may want to put a pause on moving to Suffolk, Virginia. We're going to break down from flood maps to commute times to infrastructure to lifestyle. We're going to get into a whole various range of options and topics, and we're going to break all that down right after this. If this is your first time visiting the channel and you want to know everything there is to know about living in Suffolk, Virginia, well, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. Ring that notification bell so that way you can be the first to learn about everything that's going on in the current market of Suffolk, Virginia. And we get calls and texts from viewers just like you who are looking to move to Suffolk, and we love every minute of it. Whether you're moving in 9 days or 90 days, we're here to help you. So just feel free to give us a call, shoot us a text, or even hit us with an email, or even book a video call by any one of the links down in the description below, and we'll be sure to help you make a smooth move to Suffolk, Virginia. We're here to talk about today things that you want to know prior to moving to Suffolk, and I want to make sure that we break this down for you. We live in Suffolk, and I understand the market so well that it's a great place to be, but there are a few unique things that you want to be sure to know before you move here, and I think this video is going to help you make sure that you're clear on what those things is. So first up, let's talk about what everyone always says is a major hurdle for them to move to Suffolk, and that is going to be commute times. See, Suffolk is actually the largest city in Virginia by land mass. Virginia Beach is by population, Suffolk by land mass, and actually Suffolk is actually the 16th largest city by land mass across the United States. So what makes this city so well position, in my opinion, is that you can get to various parts of the 757 from this location, and it's actually probably going to be the most seamless way to minimize your impact on traffic. But with that does means that there's a longer distance of travel that you have to deal with in certain areas, especially if you're assigned anywhere in Virginia Beach. If you're on a military base, like if you're at Oceana or Dam Neck, I would suggest that you may want to find somewhere else closer to actually move to, because those commute times are going to be quite a ways away from Suffolk. But then also I know a lot of people think that moving, if you're assigned at Naval Station Norfolk, that is going to make it a little bit more difficult as well to move to Suffolk, Virginia as well. And I don't really think that is the case. See, Virginia 757 is a part of, has a lot of things that goes through tunnels. So one of the things about the tunnels, though, they are assigned and designated on easy passes. So if you don't want to use the easy pass or go through any of these tunnels that uses easy pass for tolling, you'd have to go all the way around, and that is one of the challenges that a lot of people don't like, because that's another extra cost added on to living out in an area like Suffolk, Virginia. So there are ways that you can minimize this. You can go down to 64 interchange, and you can go over the high-rise bridge from Suffolk to actual Norfolk or Virginia Beach and not have to use the easy pass. But sometimes that traffic can be very, very heavy, and if that traffic is heavy, you're going to have to leave a lot earlier, or you're going to have a longer commute time. Now, also, if you are wanting to get to Naval Station Norfolk and you do want to use the Midtown Tunnel, the Midtown Tunnel gets you to Norfolk in about 20 to 25 minutes if you're going to Naval Station Norfolk, and that's going to put you directly on the Hampton Boulevard. And being on Hampton Boulevard gets you a straight shot down to the Naval Station Norfolk. Now, you can also go to Portsmouth Tunnel as well, to the downtown tunnel to Norfolk, and that is a heavy commute as well. And that traffic is usually pretty heavy because you're dealing with the Portsmouth Naval Shipyard traffic, as well as the traffic that's trying to get to downtown Norfolk, or the Portsmouth Naval Shipyard, or even the downtown Naval Shipyard off Berkeley Avenue. So you have so many things going on in this traffic patterns that we didn't even talk about yet, going through the Monitor Merrimack to Newport News or Hampton on this peninsula side of 757. Now, if you are in Suffolk, say you're living in Northeast Suffolk and you're being assigned to Langley Air Force Base, this may be an opportunity for you to actually find cheaper housing or nicer quality housing in comparison to what you may find in other neighborhoods on the peninsula side, and you want to make that 15 to 20 minute commute to Langley Air Force Base. You may find Harborview as an opportunity for you to actually move to. And if you're thinking about it, that traffic on the Monitor Merrimack is going to be a lot lighter than the traffic that you're going to deal with on the Hampton Roads Bridge Tunnel, even though they're working on the expansion at this point in time. So to me, commute time is just a matter of where you're going, but the 58 traffic as well to the 664 interchange can be a little heavy, and that is what now is under development to actually widen that exchange to get you to where you need to be. So we'll see how long that takes and what the plan is for that going forward to get everyone to have a minimum commute to where they need to go. But I think that the commute times are really one of the most things that people need to consider when they're thinking about moving to Suffolk, Virginia. So let's jump into number 2. So number 2 is going to be limited nightlife and entertainment. Suffolk is just not yet built out to have such a lot of populous areas for people to hang out and do things in the city. So you are bordered by Portsmouth and Chesapeake. And, you know, obviously, like I said before, you can get the Western Branch very easily. And if you got certain parts of Portsmouth that you can get to very easily as well, especially Old Town Portsmouth. So a lot of the hanging out in the nightlife that you're doing is not necessarily in Suffolk. It's more so going to be in other areas of town of the 757. So a lot of people love to go down to the town center of Virginia Beach. That's about a 30 to 35 minute commute. If you're going out for a nice restaurant, dinner, or anything of that sort, you may end up in Norfolk. You may end up in certain parts of Old Town Portsmouth. And even if you wanted to go over to Chesapeake Square, that's not that far of a commute away, about 15 minutes. Depends on what part of Hampton, Harborview or downtown Suffolk that you actually live in. So when you're actually making these commutes, you can actually make it to these nightlife areas very seamless. But one of the impacts that's happening here in Suffolk is that they're trying to grow these areas in nightlife and entertainment. Right now, there's a lot more breweries coming on board here to the area. And then you're not having those things like if you wanted to go to Dave & Buster's, you're going all the way to Virginia Beach. That's a 30 to 35 minute commute. If you wanted to do things with the kids or just even adult life, like going to wineries and breweries and things of that nature, you're more likely going to end up in Virginia Beach or Chesapeake as well. Now, Portsmouth Old Town does provide a lot of opportunities, but that's where you're going to go, and that's going to be another 20-minute commute more likely. It depends on where you're living at in the Harborview area as well, all the way down to the downtown Suffolk area. So when you're thinking about what's going on with nightlife and entertainment, a lot of that is left desirable and it's not really in the area for you. Now, do they host events and certain things down in downtown Suffolk? They do. They have the Peanut Festival annually every year. They have movie nights downtown as well. So they have some things that's going on, and the city is actually still trying to build that infrastructure out to give the residents more things to do in the area. But that's going to take time, and I would like to see that grow a little bit more so you wouldn't have to travel as far to get to those things. So sometimes that is a desirable feeling for a lot of people as well too, where there's just not enough going on in the city to keep them here, and that's why they prefer to live in one of the other major cities in the area of the 757. So let's hop into number 3. Number 3 is going to be that sometimes, depending on where you're living at in Suffolk, it can just feel so self-isolating. Rural areas are always going to make people feel isolated. Now, I mean, I have some clients who are always looking to have land and have a space and really don't even see their neighbor. So when I think about rural areas, sometimes Suffolk is going to be the better fit for a lot of my clients. But then for the other clients who want to be in the midst of everything, they love to actually be engaging with other people, Suffolk can actually make you feel like that. But also, Suffolk does have parts and communities that make you feel like that you can have just that same abundant feeling of not being isolated. But a lot of times, depending on where you're living at in Suffolk, depends on where your rest of your counterparts, your people that you hang out with, your circle, they may not live in Suffolk, or they may live in another part of Suffolk, and y'all still have to be about 15 to 20 minutes away from each other just because of how big the city really is. So it could feel a little bit of isolation in it, but these neighborhoods that is growing up, that's been developed now, the new subdivisions, they are actually bringing in a lot more residents to the area. And with these new subdivisions coming up, you're starting to see a lot more community being developed. What I mean by that is, like, you're now seeing new subdivisions coming into place where they're having clubhouses, they're having big community pools, they are having all the extra amenities to have residents engage with each other. So I think that is going to actually change this a bit as time develops and grows over a bit of time here, and we'll see how that shapes up to be. But I really think that sometimes the isolation can actually be a major hurdle for a lot of people depending on what part of Suffolk that they live in. Like, for example, if you're down in Brewers Meadow, that's right off Turlington Road, there's a big community down there, but that's close, that's farther out than actually being set on Pitch Cutter Road of Godwin Boulevard, or even being anywhere near a harbor view. So sometimes where you want to get to certain things like grocery stores, restaurants, dining, having things just to do makes it a little bit harder when you're in these areas that's a little bit further out across the board in Suffolk, Virginia. So that's why I think could be a problem here as well, that the isolation feeling of just being so remotely out, depends on what part of Suffolk you're in, it could actually make it where it feels less desirable to be in the city. Let's talk about number 4. So let's talk about flood zones in this one, because what I like to talk about is that even though there's a lot of people who desire waterfront living, or they like to be around the Nasman River or any sense of Bennett Creek or anything of the sort, you still got to take in consideration flooding. And flood insurance is actually continues to raise and go higher more and more. So I always like to talk to my clients about making sure that you understand what the flood maps show. Make sure your home or your residence is not in the flood zone. Or if it is in a flood zone, at least making sure you understand how much the cost is going to be on top of the payment that you're already going to have to make, because that's going to be in addition too. So when you're thinking about this, make sure that you're always paying attention to flood plains and when you're moving out to Suffolk. This could actually be a real major hurdle for a lot of people, especially like if you're downtown Suffolk. Certain parts of that street actually just floods, and that's going to make it harder for people to get where they want to go from point A to point B. And there's a lot of road work going on, but the drainage system around the area sometimes just doesn't handle a lot of downpour, especially around September, October. If you've never been in the Virginia area when there's a nor'easter that comes through, the rain across the city is crazy. But even in certain parts of Suffolk, it can be actually exacerbating and make you feel overwhelmed, and you just want to make sure that you're aware and prepared for what can happen when it comes to dealing with flooding. So I think flood maps are always going to be your best friend when you're going to move to any city, but flooding in the area of Suffolk in certain parts, especially around the waterfront living areas, you're going to want to make sure that you're fully aware of how that looks and how that can impact you and your upcoming purchase in the home that you're looking to. So let's jump on into number 5. Number 5 is going to be infrastructure challenges. We spoke on it just a little bit when we talked about commute times, but we're going to talk about it a little bit more here when it comes to roadways and intersections and highways. I think what we're seeing right now is Suffolk is doing a big push to expand the roadways, because in certain parts of town, everything just seems to very condensed, and you want to see that actually be expansion. So not too big, but you want to make it to where it feels comfortable to actually get from where you want to go from point A to point B. And we're starting to see that, especially on Highway 58 with all the expansion that's going on there. 664 interchange is very in depth for what you're looking for. And going down 164 down to downtown Norfolk is actually very expensive as well. So what we're seeing right now is a big push to actually expand roadways and to help you get traffic lightened up. Because if you're leaving town on the 58 westbound, if you're leaving out and you're trying to get to North Carolina or down to 95 or anything of that sort, that roadway going down past Holland is super jam packed. And really and truly, that's going to always be a bottleneck with 18-wheelers coming that way and traffic coming behind it as well. So when things get slowed down and bogged down in that area of town, that's when you can actually see bottlenecking happen. And then really and truly, when there's routinely an accident on Highway 58. So you need to be just fully aware of that. Right now, roadways are being very impacted, but with a lot of road construction going on, we're starting to see that try to be expanded out a little bit here. And I think that's what you're going to have a lot of complaining about. If outside, when you talk about the commute times at the beginning of this video, we're got to talk about how the roadways are impacting that commute time. So as they expand this and they have to make that better, we're going to see how that expands. But also when they actually took one lane of Highway 64 in the interchange going 64 eastbound, what you see now is that's the easy pass toll road, which now makes you have to pay to get in a fast lane versus it being an open third lane for people just to use all the way around going over the high-rise bridge. Now that actually impacts traffic a lot more too, because they have the boulders up to where you can't just pass through. So that is another impact on the city as well. And a lot of people do not like this easy pass method that they have put in place going towards Virginia Beach from Suffolk, or coming from Norfolk and Virginia Beach to Suffolk. That is just one of the things that it blows a lot of people's minds. And Yeah, it's just another channel. It's just another way that the city has made money off of this interchange. But at the same time, if you want to get where you need to go in a fast time, that lane is usually open, and it's just going to cost you a little bit more to get where you want to go, point A to point B. So that's infrastructure that we're talking about, highways and roadways. Now let's jump over into number 6, where we're going to talk about internet. Right now, if you're unaware, internet here is very spotty in the Suffolk area. The city actually uses Spectrum, and I'm pretty sure Spectrum is like the major servicer here. Unless you're on the northeast side of Suffolk right now, Verizon is in that area as well. So you do get a chance to get fiber in that area. Spectrum uses fiber too in the downtown central Suffolk area. And then you actually right now they're bringing in another internet source. I want to say it's Go Fiber or Glow Fiber, and that is another internet source that's actually been available now too. But the internet can be really spotty here, and really and truly, the Spectrum internet has came to my attention that it's actually a major hub in North Carolina. So when anything impacts the North Carolina hub, it impacts the Suffolk hub as well too. So some days it could be clear weather here, or it could just not be anything going on, and your internet can be out, and it can be out for hours. So that's something else to consider when you're going forward. It's just understanding that if you want to know what your internet source is, make sure that you're researching other internet options. I mean, I guess you could use like a servicer like T-Mobile, or you could look into Starlink as well. But just make sure that you understand that you may be in a certain part of town where internet may go out, or it may be out consistently or routinely over time. So I hope they get that fixed. I hope that's something that we see that gets better with time. But right now, the infrastructure is not set up greatly for internet, because like I said, if you live in downtown Suffolk or you live in central Suffolk, you pretty much only have one service provider. Where if you live in the northeast, I'm guessing northeast Suffolk way, like Harborview area or Driver, those type of areas right there, you're going to be able to have an option between Verizon, Spectrum, and maybe even Go Fiber. So just keep that in mind as you go forward, and let's jump in on to number 7. Number 7 is going to be limited public transportation. So if you are thinking about moving to Norfolk or Virginia Beach, anywhere over in Portsmouth, HRT does a great job. The Hampton Roads Transit Authority of providing transit options. When you come this far out to Suffolk, Suffolk has its own public transportation system. So they're not on the Hampton Roads transit system. So that limits the options that for public transportation. So if you don't have a dependable vehicle, I would recommend Suffolk may not be the ideal place for you, because really and truly, you're going to need a vehicle to get from what part of town to the other part of town and it's going to be one of those things where if you don't have it, you're going to have to use Uber or Lyft, and those services are really not that fully reliable out here. If you order Uber here and you had to be somewhere in a hurry, you probably need to order an Uber probably 30 to 45 minutes prior to wherever you needed to be. And that's why I think that we need to see some type of growth in that area. So as more residents continue to move to Suffolk, we'll start to see that grow a little bit more and become a little bit more efficient. But right now, what we're seeing is this is not one of those things that is catching up as fast as more people is moving to the area. So we're seeing a lot more development. We're seeing a lot more growth. We're seeing infrastructure trying to grow. But realistically, as these things grow at a rapid pace, we're still not seeing a lot of the services catch up to the pace that they're actually moving in. Let's jump in on number 8. Now, this one is going to be a little controversial maybe. I think that a lot of people are going to say that they do not like the slow-paced lifestyle that Suffolk provides. And I mean, so depending on who you are, that may be a good thing and that could be a bad thing. I mean, realistically, the slow-paced lifestyle is why a lot of people I have seen or have spoken with have talked about how expansion has happened in Virginia in the 757 for quite a while. So just a little background, when I was in the military, I have been stationed in the 757 twice. So from 2003 to 2011, and then now from 2019 present. We have seen where the pace has actually been rapidly growing, but it also depends on where you're living at in the 757. So, I mean, if you're really thinking about it, people who used to live in Virginia Beach, when they started seeing growth happening in Chesapeake, they moved to Chesapeake because they wanted to get away from the hustle and bustle of Virginia Beach. But then also when they started to see growth happening in Suffolk, the people who moved from Virginia Beach to Chesapeake then turned in hand, moved from Chesapeake to Suffolk. So we're seeing where people are still trying to get to the lifestyle where they want things to slow down, but the ones who want to be in the other areas of the 757 are wanting to see the more faster paced lifestyle. So a lot of times when people hear Suffolk, they consider it as a slow paced lifestyle. As we talked about when it comes to nightlife and entertainment, it's not much of that offer in this area of town right now. And maybe in the future it probably will, who knows? But as it stands right now, the more you get away from areas of Virginia Beach, Norfolk, Old Town, Portsmouth, Hampton, you're going to see a slower, less pace of a lifestyle. So I think that's an impact to a lot of people. Now, a lot of people love that type of lifestyle as well too. So it just depends on if that's the yin to your yang or however you feel about it. And that's going to make it where it's a determination truly on what you're looking for and doing. If you're looking to go to parks, if you're looking to take walks, or you looking to, enjoy nature, Suffolk may be the place directly for you. Now, some of those things are offered in other areas of town as well too, but it's more prevalent in Suffolk. If you want to be a part of nightlife, you want to be around what's going on in the inner city at all times, you may want to be in Norfolk, Virginia Beach, or Portsmouth, Hampton, or any other part of town like Chesapeake as well too. And Chesapeake is a little bit of a balance of the two, but in Suffolk, you definitely are looking at probably a less paced, fast lifestyle in the area. Let's jump into number 9. Number 9 is going to be actually a slower lifestyle. Specialized services is what we're going to talk about. Specialized services. Now, we do have, when I talk about specialized services, I like to talk about the infrastructure. You have your firehouses, you have your police stations, let's talk about medical facilities. Medical facilities here are paramount. You're again going to have Centera as one of your major major hospital services in the area. Also, if you need specialized care, like anything dealing with a pediatrician, you may get seen in the local area, but then you may have to go to Chesapeake or Virginia Beach or downtown Norfolk, especially like if you have pediatrics. Pediatrics, you may have to go to the Children's Hospital that could be in Edinburgh, which is in Chesapeake, or it could be downtown Norfolk. So you just got to take that into account too, that a lot of the services that's provided in Suffolk, the specialized care, may be a hub in another city that you may have to commute to. So once again, we're back to the commuting topic at the top of the video. So you got to take that into consideration as well too. I would say you can always just make sure that when you're looking for your primary care physician, you want to look that up on the internet. Make sure that you're looking at what your primary care physician offers and what services they offer at the location that you're going to be seen at. But then also take that into consideration that you just may have to make a commute for specialized care. So we're going to get into our last one, and I want to say that I believe that restaurants are needing to grow in the area. If you go to Virginia Beach, Norfolk, you're going to get some great restaurants. If you go to Portsmouth, like I said before, great restaurants there. But Suffolk has options, but they don't have as vast a range of options, just like the local area. So if you're looking for restaurant chains, you're going to have restaurant chains in Suffolk. You're going to have your Chick-fil-A's, your McDonald's, your Burger Kings, things of that nature. But when it comes to restaurants like Cheesecake Factory, Ruth Chris, things of this nature, you're going to travel to go get those things, okay? Like realistically, a lot of your major restaurants are going to be in Harborview, or they're going to be in the Chesapeake Square, which is about 15 minutes away, depends on what location of Suffolk that you're in. So you do have options around you, but they're just not prevalent in the city of Suffolk. So as population grows and restaurants start to see the growth of this area, they will start to move out to this direction. But if there's things that you desire about restaurant living, those are some of the things that you may want to take into consideration, that there's just not a major push of name chain restaurants, but they probably will be over time. So don't get me wrong, the mom and pop restaurants, the local diners and things of that nature in the area are just as good, but sometimes that desirable feeling of wanting to have things around the corner from you and not have to drive too far, or just be able to go out and get a decent meal and come back home. You want to have that commute to like 15 to 20 minutes. In a lot of cases, if you're in Suffolk, you're driving about 30 to 35 minutes, depends on what type of restaurant it is that you desire and what you're looking for. So that was my top 10 negative things to say about Suffolk. But let's talk about all the positive things. And I've done a lot of videos on all the things that I see as positives when it comes to Suffolk. Now, like I said, at the top of this video, commute times is going to be the biggest, but also when you're in the city of Suffolk, you will have such a range of options of things that you don't necessarily have to leave at all. And with the affordability of homes actually being here in this area, you can find a wide range of homes. They're not all cookie cutter homes, and you can still find a home that makes sense to you, and it can be very affordable in comparison to the other cities around the 757. When you think about cost of living, I think cost of living is on par here with the rest of the 757 as well, but you're going to have an opportunity to get a little bit more space that you're looking for as well. So when you're thinking about the serene, the scenic beauty of Suffolk, I think some of these best areas around the 757 are located in Suffolk, especially up towards Bridge Road, views of the Nasman River, Bennett Creek Park. I think all those things are essential as well too. And really and truly, it's closer to North Carolina. So a lot of people who come to this area are always commuting down south, and this puts you in a better area to get on the 58 to get down south as well too. So I think there's just so much happening in around the 757 that Suffolk is just a hub to make and facilitate you being in the best position, prime to go east or west, or even over the peninsula side to Newport News or Hampton. So just understand that this area has its challenges, but they are working towards the challenges being eradicated to make this an even better town for the growth that's actually expected by 2040. If you are unaware, by 2040, they believe that there will be about 126 to 130,000 individuals living in the area. At last check, we was at about 98,000. So we're just below that for this big, large city in Virginia. So we'll see what happens and how this thing shapes up. But I do believe that you can find everything that you're looking for and a lot of the best amenities that you desire in Suffolk, Virginia. So whether you're moving in 9 days or 90 days, we would love to help you make a smooth move to Suffolk, Virginia. So just definitely feel free to give us a call, shoot us a text, go ahead and write us an email, or even book a video call with us where we can help you make that smooth move to Suffolk, Virginia. And if you found value in this content, definitely hit us with a like. And go ahead and comment down below some of the best things that you love about Suffolk, or even some of the worst things that you hate about Suffolk. I'll talk to you soon. I'll catch you in the next video. Y'all be safe. Peace.